So what's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. And this is where we are now. So apparently it's a situation popping off in Minnesota between the United States and Somalians who have, I guess you would say, infiltrated, but maybe that's too strong a word. Um, Kind of, took refuge in Minnesota on a very large scale. And apparently some of them have been, running scams and stuff like that. Trump is working hard to put things in place to get certain people deported and also maybe, pull people's green cards and things like that. Cause in my mind, I'm sorry, people, but we've allowed too many people over here in our country that don't have American values. And they're bringing their own institutions with them, and they're going to try to replace us in our own country. Now, if you don't like your country, you can go too. But you know what I'm saying? I love my country. My grandfather fought for this country, and I'm not going to give it up. So let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes.
President Trump has also ordered the government to re-examine the green cards of thousands of people. He listed 19 countries of concern, including Somalia and Burma. Minnesota has a large number of immigrants from both places. There are about 140,000 green card holders in Minnesota, according to recent estimates. WCCO's Connor White has more on the impact to Somali people living in Minnesota.
The president using a portion of his address to the nation Wednesday night to target Minnesota's Somali population.
Hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state.
He's also directing a review of all green card holders from Somalia and threatened to end temporary protected status, or TPS.
Billions of dollars are lost, and
activist Christopher Rufo is claiming credit for catching the president's attention. He co-authored this article in the conservative City Journal, claiming Somali terror group Al-Shabaab received millions of dollars from the high-profile fraud schemes in Minnesota.
This story has no legs, unfortunately, but it is an attack.
Jilani Hussein, a Somali American leading the nonprofit Care Minnesota, calls it an Islamophobic smear campaign. He points to findings like this one on a similar issue from 2019, with the Minnesota Office of the Legislative Auditor unable to substantiate the allegation that Minnesotans sent money stolen from a state child care program to a foreign terrorist organization. The report acknowledged.
I mean, it's not just going to be blatant if they're doing it. Let's just keep this honest. They're going to do everything to try to make sure that they cross their T's and dot their I's to make sure that that's not seeming like that's what they're doing, if they're doing it. Like, of course, all this stuff is alleged at this exact moment in time, and they're saying that there's no evidence of this. The gentleman that got Trump's attention, he's saying that there is. So, we have yet to see. Let's keep going, try to find out more of what's going on with this particular situation here in Minnesota, because this is wild.
Acknowledging it was possible, but they didn't find any evidence.
Do you have any reason to believe that there's any truth to this idea that dollars are flowing from Minnesota to this terrorist organization?
Absolutely not, because one of the things that's a lot easier to track is money.
While dozens of people of Somali descent face fraud charges or have been convicted of fraud, the government has not brought forward evidence that any of the defendants are funding terrorism. Instead, the case is focused primarily on people trying to make themselves rich.
But this is the old tricks of divide and conquer and to stew fear.
In Minneapolis, with photojournalist Tony Peterson, Connor White, WCCO News.
So this is where we at with this part right here. So apparently, of course, it's a back and forth situation. Some people saying they are, some people saying they're not, and things like that. And this is where we at here. So we're going to go here now. We're going to check this out. So apparently they did capture a group of Somalians that were sending money to, someplace else that they're not supposed to be sending it to. Let's go here now.
A massive fraud scheme uncovered in Minnesota found money intended for social services has been allegedly siphoned indirectly into the pockets of the Somali terrorist group Al-Shabaab. Somali immigrants in Minnesota have reportedly been abusing systems meant to help the most unfortunate among us, including the latest federally funded autism services. The autism fraud scheme reportedly amassed $14 million through Medicare claims for services that were never provided, involving kids who never had autism. And the Somali immigrants behind this web of schemes have allegedly stolen billions from taxpayers, much of the money going back to the Somali government, where it would then end up in the hands of terrorists. Manhattan Institute investigative reporter Ryan Thorpe was one of the first exposing the schemes for their ties to terrorism. With us now, Ryan, a line from your story stuck out. The largest funder of al-Shabaab is the Minnesota taxpayer, and you cite an unnamed source for that. What is the evidence that all of this money that was taken and the billions upon billions of increased funding in Minnesota for social services ended up in Somalia?
Well, billions of dollars of government welfare money is missing in the state of Minnesota.
How do we define missing?
Well, the fraud is so bad that the U.S. Attorney's Office has come out and indicated that they believe their entire government programs, where the fraudulent claims outstrip the legitimate ones. There are cases where indictments have come down or guilty pleas are already in to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars that were fraudulently obtained, filing false claims alongside doctored paperwork. And the indictments are continuing to come. And the U.S. Attorney's Office has made very clear that this is a network of fraud schemes stacked upon fraud schemes, and that while the true dollar figure in terms of stolen funds at this point isn't quite clear, it's safe to say that we're talking about billions of dollars.
This is wild right here, people. So, you know, in the first segment I showed you guys on the broadcast, clearly the chairman of Jesus Christ, I can't think of the name, but you know what I'm talking about. The chairman was clearly stating that, you know, saying this is a farce, this is here to divide and conquer and all these types of things. Now we're seeing in this segment here on News Nation that they clearly have people in custody for fraud in Minnesota. They clearly do. He said guilty pleas have already come down and stuff like that. So that means some people are pleading guilty trying to get a plea. You know what I'm saying? For I mean, you know, you're not going to try to get a plea if you're not guilty. Let's just be honest here. This is wild here, people. And you know what I'm saying? We're allowing these entities to come into our country and stuff like that even through legal channels, and they're bringing other people over here. This is wild out here, man. We got to start paying attention. This is crazy.
Okay. It's pretty wild, some of the things that you lay out, including one group called Feeding the Future that went from getting $3.4 million in 2019 to $200 million 2 years later. They grew faster than NVIDIA. How did nobody see that? Or is it that people and the government and those who are supposed to be the watchdogs, like Tim Walz, like Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, there just weren't looking?
I think it's safe to say that there was a real unwillingness or inability among Democratic state officials in Minnesota to recognize some pretty obvious alarm bells here. All across these programs, claims were skyrocketing, absolutely spiraling out of control over a short period of time. And the reality is that the Somali community, which is where these large-scale fraud rings have been concentrated within this population in the state, it is a sizable voting bloc. It is a voting bloc you have to win if you're going to win political office in Minneapolis. And so
wow, see, they came in and they've taken over so much Minnesota has to rely on them to win office. Jesus Christ, man. See, this is the underhanded taking over of our society here. How did you allow this many people from Somalia to move to Minnesota and become pretty much, you know, what, semi-citizens, green cards or something like that, where they're allowed to vote like this? And, you know, also putting their own people in place to restructure Minnesota. It starts off small, people, whether we like the truth or not. It starts off very, very small, and then it grows. It's crazy out here, man. You people in Minnesota, y'all, man, Jesus Christ, y'all almost like California. What is going on? What is going on in these states, bro? Jesus, man, this is sad.
I think that was likely a incentive here that made some people not want to look too closely at what's been going on.
Wow. And that would explain why now it's the U.S. attorney looking into it rather than the state law enforcement or state fraud investigators. Is there any indication, Ryan, as you get, and obviously, it's one of those things you drop an investigative piece and then all of a sudden you get 1,000 more tips, that this goes higher, like actually into state government? You get the last 30 seconds.
I can't confirm that. So I don't want to get out in front of my skis here. What I can say is that this story has generated additional tips, and it is something that we are continuing to look into as we push forward with our efforts to expose the fraud rings that have been taking advantage of the generosity of Minnesota taxpayers.
Yeah, stunning also how little pickup this has gotten around the country in terms of the rest of the media. Applaud your guys' continued work on it, Ryan.
And that's where we at here. So we're going to keep going because there's always more. We're going to bring in Anton Daniels, and he has a clip from a young lady. I'm thinking she lives in Minnesota as well. And she's going to be explaining some things. And also, we're going to let Anton cook on the situation as well. Let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes.
In case you did not know, Somalis are notorious for looting, stealing, their piracy, very well known for. They marry children, they don't have women's rights, women can't vote. And when you import a bunch of them into the middle of Minnesota in our country, they're going to do the same thing. They are going to steal. They are going to, it's so crazy that we've done this. They're not going to assimilate. They are just going to find a stronghold of a shared community of values that they have, Somali values in a Western culture, and they're going to do the same thing. They're going to cut off female genitalia because 99% of Somali women have done that, or I guess had that done to them. They are going to steal. Again, what do you think of when you think of Somalia? Piracy, which is exactly what we are seeing, because in case you did not know, there is currently a massive investigation into this Medicaid fraud scheme amongst the Somali community in our country. They're making fraudulent claims and they are stealing from the taxpayers. They're stealing from our government. And if that wasn't bad enough, it has been reported that we are the largest funder of Al-Shabaab, their terror group back in Somalia.
The truth is, not every child gets the chance to go to the movies.
And this is where we at here, people. This is where we at. Hold on.
Defrauding the US government and then sending it to our enemy. And we are at work paying for it. Calling this out, it's not racist, it's not xenophobic, it's not being anti-Somali. It's saying, hey, I actually think Western culture, the freedoms that we have, are superior. I would much rather live in a country where I have a voice, where I can vote, where my genitals aren't removed, where I could wear what I want, practice what religion I want. I think that's a superior way of life. And the people in Somalia do not think that's a superior way of life. They're coming here to change it and expecting anything else from a group of people that have not changed in their home country and then bringing them here and thinking they're going to change here. It's insane. It's insanity. And it's going to be the end of our freedoms.
Now, so far, she's saying, a lot here, but at the same time, though, too, we have to actually think this thing through logically. When we invite people over here, we do want them to acclimate to our culture. That's how it goes. If you move from America to China, you have to acclimate to their culture. They're not going to change for you when you move there, when you're moving there. And this is the issue that we're having so far here in America. We've allowed a lot of foreigners to come in, definitely at one time on mass low key, definitely due to this past 2-3 years here. And, they're not acclimating to what the way of life we live. They're bringing their own entities, they're bringing their own systems and stuff like that, and then they want to try to sneak them in play and things like that. They're not trying to learn our language en masse how they're supposed to, so they can communicate properly. They really don't care, and we need to stop caring about these people so-called coming from these tragic countries and stuff like that. Go fix your country. Go fix your country. We got our own issues and problems over here in America that we need to clear up as natural born Americans and stuff like that. And we do need to handle that. Yes, we do. But we don't need any other problems on top of the problems that we already have that we haven't even cleared up yet.
We cannot tolerate a group of people who do not tolerate our freedoms. It's not racist. That's not xenophobic to say. It's the truth. And we better start saying it. And the option of doing nothing about this isn't there. Bye-bye. Thank you, Trump.
So aside from her seeming like she was sounding like a Chinese movie because the audio didn't seem like it was synced with her lips, that's on her side, not on my side. I think that some of it is true and then some of it is embellished, right? And this is why we have to have conversations about these type of things, because yes, they are bringing their culture over here. Yes, I have been to Minneapolis and I've witnessed it with my own eyes. Yes, I've spent over a week and seen it with my own eyes. At the same time, it's difficult for me to say that you got to get rid of them and kick them out if the majority of them are American citizens. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in operating by the Constitution. I also don't believe in birthright citizenship. And I believe that people that are not supposed to be here in the United States of America should be removed if they are an illegal migrant on the soil of the United States of America. Now, what we also need to do is change the rules by which they are leveraging American law to continue to come over here in the United States of America. So, for example,
Right. Definitely that. And I get what Anton's saying, of course, you know what I'm saying. And I'm with him on that too. No way around it. We have to abide by the law. And the laws that we have in place, we kind of set ourselves up for this day that, we're finally at here in the country and stuff like that. As far as allowing these people to come in, like I said, they some definitely come in legally, and then they're bringing others, and stuff like that. So yeah, we have to, revamp our system of allowing foreigners in our country. We have to do this. This is nowhere around this. We have to make sure we structure the law the way that we need it, that's going to benefit us and things like that over here in America.
Example, Trump did a great job by removing temporary protective status, TPS, from Somalis who are over in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they have literally overtaken Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they brought their country, they brought their culture, they brought their people, and it is being proven that fraud money is being sent over to their country courtesy of taxpayers, and that is a huge problem with me. So absolutely hold these people accountable. Absolutely do not let people come over here and then, destroy our culture inside of the United States of America. People should have to stand up for the American flag. They should learn English.
Here's me in Paris, but looking like a
definitely that. Yeah, they commercialing me out. Hold on, guys.
And I'm not really sure about the whole genitalia thing from women. That one is a little bit new to me because I have not studied their culture extensively. I do know that Ilhan Omar is disrespectful, and she says some of the wildest things, and she is not for, in my opinion, the American people. And then also, when you allow for so many people and you don't nip it in the bud, when you allow for so many people that do not have the best interests of the United States of America, at the forefront of their mind, when you allow so many of them inside of the United States and then they come together and they congregate, it gives them power because now they get to determine who their representatives are, who it is that they support, who they rock with, who they do not rock with, and they get to determine how things go over in the city that they over and abundantly is supporting who they're supporting. I mean, they almost got that dude in as mayor that is an admitted socialist. Crazy, bro.
And this is where we at here. Yes, we brought this on ourselves here. And the thing of this is that, like I said, once they came in and stuff, they're slowly but surely rearranging the politics of Minnesota. And they're kicking out the natural born citizens of Minnesota who want to run for these offices, who will actually, be supportive of their own people in that state. So, and this is where we at here, people. This is where we at. We're being taken over slowly but surely, right under our nose, stuff like that. Like I say, it starts off very small, very small.
For doing something about this and kicking them out. They don't belong here. They don't share our values.
Deport, send them all back, strip them of their visas, denaturalize, send them back. Stop letting people into this country that hates America. Just enough already. President Trump, we need you to start taking this very seriously. We know that you're doing your best with the deportation and everything, but something's got to give. You're going to have to really crack down on the radical Muslims and the Muslim Brotherhood. We need you to start really, really taking this seriously and protecting the American people. Deport, denaturalize. With these protests happening in New York City, I have some concerns about the safety of all New Yorkers, especially the Jewish community, because this guy swearing in is around the corner. And let me tell you something. You have the radical Muslims ready to gear up to start their mess, and I don't see this ending well. And you got Muslims coming in from other states to see this guy swearing in. And I'm talking about the radical Muslims, and we do have Muslim Brotherhood in New York City, particularly in Queens and Brooklyn and parts of the Bronx. President Trump, you need to send in the big guys because NYPD, I don't think can manage this alone. Deport, denaturalize, and stop letting, you're going to have to vet people that want to come into this country. To
First thing you got to do is you got to get the people out of here that's not supposed to be here.
Right.
We got fighting and opposition from city leaders and governments, governors, saying that they're not even going to allow for the Trump administration to participate in making sure that people that are here illegally, especially the ones that are committing crimes, they're not going to allow for them to continue to deport them. The Trump administration has been fought on every single front on doing the best thing for America.
make sure that they are in support of America and not against America. Stop letting foreign citizens run for public office. No foreign citizen should hold it, no type of government position. None. Enough is enough already. We have to.
I agree. I think that if you wind up becoming a citizen of the United States of America, but you're not originally born here, it's hard, very difficult for me to justify saying that you should be, and then they wind up becoming senators, congress people, mayors, right? I'm not sure if we've gotten any governors like that, but it is bad. It is bad. And I think that our culture is being taken over. I think that there's too many people that are here illegally. And I'm not sure if I would take such a hard stance that this woman is doing because she's saying denaturalize and remove this and remove that and so on and so forth. I'm not really sure that I would do that, right? Because we still got to operate by American law. And I think that we are still governed by the Constitution. And so if we want things different, then we need to change the laws and go through the process. So I'm not for just straight up anarchy and doing it that way.
So definitely that I definitely agree with what was said in this broadcast here. It is what it is, people, and we need to, do our best to, also get rid of the individuals that are here illegally and stuff like that. And for the other ones that are trying to change America to what they see fit, we need to figure out a way to, legally restrict them as well. So yeah, everything has to be done legally. I get that. It's no way around it. We can't, saying, yeah, just straight strip rights and stuff like that. That's not going to work legally over here. It's not going to work. We have to, use the tools that the laws that we created as well to try to, restructure things. And this is also about voting. This is also the voting process that we've allowed, and people, or some people like, well, no, I'm not going to vote because it doesn't matter, stuff like that. This is the tail end of the situation here. This is the reason why we have to vote, definitely locally. And this is the laws and stuff like that are for our major government and our local government that are being put in place. When these people go to work every day, legislators and all them, they change the laws, they make new laws, stuff like that. And this is what's going on. These laws were made at a certain point in time, and the foreigners are using them to their advantage. And now we're getting our homes taken away from us, or our values and stuff like that rearranged for people that come over here and don't really care if we live or die. But it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.